Hi everyone, today we are going to discuss about respiratory system. Respiratory system has been divided into two: upper respiratory system and lower respiratory system. You can call as upper respiratory tract also. So upper respiratory tract composed of nose and nasal cavity, pharynx and larynx. So lower respiratory tract consists of trachea, bronchi and bronchioles and the alveoli. So today we will discuss about only upper respiratory tract. So before going into the topic, let's see what is breathing. Breathing, it's a pulmonary ventilation, consists of two cyclic phases, that is inhalation, exhalation. Everyone will be knowing this, what is inhalation and exhalation. So inhalation also called as inspiration, exhalation also called as expiration. Inspiration, that is draw the gases into the lungs, take air into the lungs. Expiration, that forces gases out of the lungs. So let's see what are all the functions of respiratory system. It supplies the body with the oxygen and disposes the carbon dioxide and filters the inspirated air and produce sound through larynx, contains receptors for smell and rids the body of some excess water and heat and helps to regulate blood pH. So these are the functions of respiratory system. So let's see, first part will go to nose and nasal cavity. So as you can see this picture, nose. So main route of entry is nose, air route of entry is nose. So you can see two cavities in the nose. So imagine that's a two cavities. So these cavities are divided by the septa. So anteriorly it consists hyaline cartilage. The roof is formed by the ethmoid bone. The roof is formed by the ethmoid bone. The floor is formed by the roof of the mouth, and the medial wall is formed by the septum, and the lateral wall formed by the maxilla. So this you can see the bone maxilla, where teeth are embedded in it, that is maxilla. Let's see the functions of nose. The first function of the nose is respiratory passage. It will work as a respiratory passage. It take the gases in. So the first function of nose is warming. Second is filtering and cleaning. Third is the humidification. Warming, due to the immense vascularity of the mucosa, warming will be present. And filtering and cleaning, this occurs due to the hairs which trap the larger particles, which will stop the dust outside with these hair. And humidification, as air travels over the moist mucosa, it becomes saturated with water vapor. So due to that moist mucosa, then it becomes saturated with water vapor. So these are the three functions will be done by the nose. So next part we will see pharynx. So the pharynx is the part of the throat that is behind the mouth. So that is behind the mouth. And the nasal cavity, so behind the mouth, and this is the nasal cavity and this is the mouth. So behind the nasal cavity and mouth, pharynx will be situated, and above the esophagus and larynx. So this you can see, this is esophagus and larynx. Above this, this part is called as pharynx. So it is behind the nasal cavity and oral cavity and above the esophagus and larynx. So this you can see, this is pharynx. So superiorly it is a base of the skull and inferiorly continuous with the esophagus, anteriorly incomplete wall because of the nose and mouth, anteriorly incomplete, and posteriorly it is at the first sixth vertebra. The length of this pharynx is 12 to 14 centimeter. 12 to 14 centimeter. It extends from the base of the skull to the level of the sixth cervical vertebra. So, this pharynx has been divided into 3 parts. You can see the picture here. Nasopharynx, oropharynx and hypopharynx, or you can call it laryngopharynx. Okay. So, the nasopharynx, it's a nasal part of the pharynx, lies behind the nose. So, the first behind the nasal cavity, that's what it is termed as nasopharynx. And oropharynx, the oral part of the pharynx lies behind the mouth. So, this is oropharynx. And the laryngeal part of the pharynx extends from the oropharynx to the till the larynx. So, this is hypopharynx or laryngopharynx. So, these are the 3 parts of pharynx. So, let us see the functions of this pharynx. So, it is a passage for air and food. Warming and humidification will be done. Taste, there are olfactory nerve endings, so that taste also can be. Hearing, the auditory tube extending from the nasopharynx to each middle. So, hearing, taste and hearing, and protection. The lymphatic tissue of the pharyngeal tonsils produces the antibodies. So, one of the function is protection also. And speech, act as a resonating chamber for the sound, but remember that not exactly as larynx, just as a resonating chamber for the sound ascending from the larynx, which is coming from the larynx. And the pharynx is composed of 3 layers: mucous membrane lining, fibrous tissue, smooth muscle. Blood supply will be done by facial artery and facial vein and internal jugular veins. Nerve supply, cranial nerve supply from vagus nerve and glossopharyngeal nerve. So, this is about the pharynx. Let's move for the larynx. Larynx, also called as voice box, which extend from the root of the tongue. So, here you can see. So, which extend from the root of the tongue. It lies in front of the laryngopharynx. So, as I said that in front of the laryngopharynx are hypopharynx at the level of 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th cervical vertebra. So, until the puberty there is a little difference in the size of the larynx between the sexes, and it grows larger in the male. So, superiorly the head bone and the roof of the tongue, superiorly it will be bounded, and inferiorly it will be continuous with the trachea. You can see here continuously with the trachea, and anteriorly with the muzzle of the neck. This you can see anteriorly, and posteriorly the laryngopharynx and 3rd to 6th vertebra. So, behind this there will be a larynx. So, superiorly with the head bone and roof of the tongue, and next continuous with the trachea, inferiorly, anteriorly with the muzzle of neck, and posteriorly with the laryngopharynx and 3rd to 6th cervical vertebra. Let's see the structure. So, the larynx is composed of several irregularly shaped cartilages attached to each other by the ligaments. and membranes. The main cartilages are thyroid, one thyroid cartilage and one cricoid cartilage and two arytenoid cartilage and one epiglottis and corniculate cartilages. So, here you can see, so this is epiglottis. So, the thyroid cartilage and cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, also called as hyaline cartilages. So, the thyroid cartilage, it is the most prominent and consists of two flat pieces, two flat pieces of hyaline cartilage and fused anteriorly forming the Adam's apple. So, this you can see. The cricoid cartilage, here you can see, which is in yellow color. So, this lies below the thyroid cartilage and composed of hyaline cartilage. The arytenoid cartilages, these are two roughly pyramid shaped hyaline cartilages situated on the top of the broad part of the cricoid cartilage. You can see here. So, above the cricoid cartilage, which is in blue color, this. So, the epiglottis. So, this one is the epiglottis. So, it is a leaf shaped fibroelastic cartilage attached to the inner surface of the anterior wall of the thyroid cartilage. So, these are the cartilages, and blood and nerve supply to this larynx is superior and inferior laryngeal arteries and by the thyroid veins and superior laryngeal nerves. So, this is about the larynx. So, we have discussed about the nose and nasal cavity and pharynx and larynx. What are the functions of pharynx and parts, structure, we have been discussed. In next session, we will be discussing about lower respiratory tract.